Almontaser, can you talk about the role of the media? The New York Post headline that ran, "City Principal is Revolting, Tied to Intifada NYC Shirts." The article quoting you is saying that this girls' organization that had the T-shirt was shaking off oppression.
The New York Post for months was seeking to do an interview, and I basically kept my distance because the New York Post has always written negative articles about Arab and Muslim Americans, and I certainly knew that anything that they were going to write about me or the school was not going to be favorable. And unfortunately, due to the persistence of the Department of Education, I had no choice but to provide an interview. And during my interview, the reporter asked me for the root word of the word intifada. And prior to that, he asked me about my affiliation with this organization, and I made it very clear that this organization had nothing to do with the school or me in my capacity as principal. I sit on a board of an organization like many other principals across the city, and therefore, this is a moot point. This organization and its T-shirt have nothing to do with me or the school. Following that, he asked for the root word of the word intifada, and I simply, the educator in me, provided him with the root word, which is shaking off, and moved onward to give a lengthy explanation of how this word has different meanings for different people based on the Palestinian-Israeli conflict where thousands of people have been killed. Also mentioning that, it evolved and developed into shaking oppression, as well as uprising, and that's why this word has developed a negative connotation. Of course, the reporter at that point, just decided to take the shaking off and to portray me as minimizing the historical context of the word, as well as making it seem as if though I defended this organization and the T-shirt for having, this T-shirt. I did not defend the T-shirt. The one thing that I did do was defend the girls that he was vilifying with the follow-up question where he asked me, well, we have reason to believe that these girls are going to be engaging in a Gaza-style uprising. And my response to him was, I don't believe these girls would be engaging in a Gaza-style Gaza uprising. They are simply, getting the opportunity to learn how to express their views and, be able to, tell their stories rather than to be, exploited in the media. And that was simply it. And he took my response in defense of the girls as defending the T-shirt, which I did not defend.
And the role of the other media, for example, the New York Sun, and overall, who you think was behind the major move to have you removed?
Well, the New York Sun began simply as early as March by allowing Daniel Pipes to write op-ed pieces, as well as some other writers that they have. And, it was just horrendous to see some of the captions. There was one title of an article by Alicia Colon that read, Arabic school idea is a monstrosity. And towards the end of the article, she basically calls for everyone to take out the torches and circle City Hall. I found it very disturbing to see this kind of reporting, particularly from papers within the city who chose to give an opportunity for outsiders to give their personal opinions on the school as well as on me. And so, that continued with the New York Sun, and then the New York Post jumped, on the bandwagon over the summer. And this was all really, taken on by a coalition called the Stop the Madrasa Coalition, who Daniel Pipes is actually on their board, and he was able to, collectively find other people in the city and outside of the state to jump on his wagon and venture in this smear campaign against the school and eventually me.
The New York Times piece, the major piece on you on Sunday, said only 1/5 of the 60 students at the Khalil Gibran International School are Arab American. Since the school opened in Brooklyn last fall, children have been suspended for carrying weapons, repeatedly gotten into fights, and taunted an Arabic teacher by calling her a terrorist. This according to staff members and students in the interviews with the New York Times. Your response, Deborah Almontaser?
It is quite disheartening to hear that, you know, the vision for a school that was going to be building bridges of understanding and tolerance has turned into something quite the opposite. And, you know, it's all systemic. You know, when you take the visionary leader of a school who brought people on board, as well as brought families on board, there were, you know, more families, Arabic-speaking families, that had actually enrolled their children. And upon hearing about my removal, they chose to remove their children. So it's unfortunate that that's happened, but you know, this happens in any organization or institution when something such as this happens, you know, 3 weeks before its opening.
Would you like to be the principal of the Khalil Gibran School now?
Most definitely.
Explain your lawsuit at this point. Where does it stand?
My lawsuit at this point stands it's going to be going for full trial based on the First Amendment claim. So we are hopeful. I remain hopeful that, you know, the legal system will do the right thing and rule in my favor. And, you know, I'm prepared for the long haul because I'm not just standing up for my own rights, but I'm standing for the rights of Arabs and Muslims across the country. As you can clearly see, the anti-Arab and anti-Muslim sentiment that, you know, is going around this country is quite startling. And, you know, the fact that we're living in a new McCarthy era is quite, you know, fearful for many people. So I hope that my case will certainly set national and international precedents that Arabs and Muslims cannot be treated in this way.
The mayor, the city, I should say, the attorneys for the city say they didn't force you out, you quit.
Well, of course they're going to say that because that's, you know, their perspective. But I was forced out. You know, the ultimatum was it's either you or the school. And as I said earlier, the school was something that many people were looking forward to. And I wanted to see this historical dream come alive, even at the cost of, you know, making me the sacrificial lamb.
Any last words?
My last words are basically urging, you know, the American public to really develop a better understanding of the political agenda that is out there by people such as Daniel Pipes and right-wing groups who are going after prominent Muslim and Arab American leaders who are trying to make a difference in this country. It is so important to allow us to bridge the gaps and build bridges of understanding among people across this country and to, you know, continue in the healing process of developing a better country and a better world for all of humanity.
Well, I want to thank you, Deborah Almontaser, for joining us. Deborah Almontaser was the founding principal of the Khalil Gibran International School, but she stepped down before the school actually opened. We will continue to follow her case as she is now suing the city of New York. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org.